How's it, guys? This is Dayvy FP and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video we're going to be talking about the ultimate guide to blank game week 18 and double game week 19. So we've got some news hot off the press. I've literally just concluded the deadline with Dayvy live stream for game week 13 and the news was dropped while we were live streaming. So I jumped off, recorded this video because I wanted to get it out as soon as possible for you guys, because this is the first big occurrence this FPL season that we have to plan for. So the sooner you start planning for it, the better. But don't worry, in this video we're going to be covering everything game week 18 and 19 related in terms of those blanks and doubles. So that's something you're interested in. Sit back, relax, and let's get into it. So the most important talking point about the blanks and doubles are what are the fixtures, and thanks to Ben Krellin, courtesy of him and his Twitter account, so go drop him a follow. This figure was taken directly from his Twitter account, so thanks to him for that. He's basically the FPL guru for blanks and doubles, and he dropped this news right off the press for us so that we can analyze it and plan for these blanks and double game weeks. So the blank game week, as I said, in game week 18 there, you can see that half of the fixtures have been postponed. So 5 fixtures in total have been blanked out. That's actually quite a good amount of blanks for using a chip like the free hit, but we'll be talking about the whole chip strategy and should you be using your free hit and should you be not a little bit later on. And then the more exciting double game week is happening in game week 19. So those 5 fixtures have either been postponed or they've been moved to game week 19. You can see on the right there we still have some unscheduled blanks, so that is kind of key because later on in the season or maybe in another game week we will have a smaller double, but this is definitely going to be one of the biggest double, if not the biggest double game week that we're going to be having this FPL season. So that's why we have to take it in our stride, and you should probably be using a chip in this double game week because that's going to hopefully maximize your chip strategy and your overall FPL points. So getting on to blank game week 18, with half the fixtures gone, you still have to look at the teams that have fixtures, because that's basically what's going to depend on if you should be using a free hit, or maybe you can actually prepare for this blank game week with your free transfers. And you can see there Man City, Spurs, Everton, Arsenal, Wolves, those are quite good teams there, especially Man City and Spurs. And if you look at their fixtures, they actually have a really good game week 18. So Man City play Brighton, whereas Spurs go to Aston Villa, and a lot of us actually own some of these players now. So if you own Harry Kane, Heung-min Son, you're still going to be keeping them. And if you look at the previous fixtures, Fulham and Leeds, so we're definitely going to be bringing those Spurs assets in around that game week 16 mark. So we should be having a couple of players for game week 18. I mean, just think about the players we have from Aston Villa. I've got a triple up of them. I know one of those players is Steer, who's definitely not going to be starting in that blank game week, even though he has a fixture. But you know what I'm saying? We still have a relatively good amount of players. So if you have used your free hit, I wouldn't be worrying too much. But if you still have it, you could definitely use it in this one. So now let's turn our attention to the double game week, because that's definitely the more exciting part of these fixture announcements. So the double game week here, those 5 fixtures have been moved to game week 19, and they've actually allowed for some really good matchups there. Unfortunately, Manchester United do face Liverpool, and so we could be facing some rotation there, because I think definitely Manchester United and Liverpool will focus on that first game, and then there could be some rotation in the second game. But what I wanted to talk about is with Liverpool, and if they have a double game week, it's actually absolute FPL gold, because Liverpool hardly rotate. I know we have Diego Jota that's come in, and there has been some rotation there with that front three, but with him out injured, I don't think they can afford to drop Firmino, Salah or Mané. So we're going to be absolutely loading up on those Liverpool options, and their defense could actually come into account here if with those previous fixtures of Newcastle and Southampton, maybe we look at a Robertson or Trent Alexander-Arnold double up as a little bit of a cheeky move going into that double game week 19. But then they face Fulham for Manchester United and Burnley, which are 2 relatively good fixtures, but we also have some other teams with some great matchups there. West Ham face Burnley and West Bromwich Albion. I mean, absolute madness there. Both home fixtures as well, so I definitely think we're going to be loading up on those West Ham players. But what you should do is look at the teams that have the double game weeks and the blank game weeks, and if you don't have a wild card or don't necessarily want to use your wild card, you could look at these teams and kind of plan your free transfers from now till then to maximize your overall points if you're not going to be using a chip. But that's enough of the fixtures. You can kind of pause the video here if you want to carry on with the fixture watch and just go through it yourself, or just simply go to Ben Krillin's Twitter account and he should have this figure still up there. And apologies if these fixtures are updated. As I said, I'm recording this video straight off the press, so if the news comes out that maybe some fixtures are going to be rotated, then that could still happen. But I think these are the majority of fixtures still say the same, and the news will still be accurate. So now let's talk about the chip strategy, because I think that's basically what these blanks and these doubles introduce, is they introduce the need to use a chip, because overall my whole strategy throughout my FPL career has been to use a chip in the double game weeks and the blank game weeks, and I found that that's the best way to maximize these chips and maximize your points. So what I've done here on screen is I've highlighted the 3 important game weeks that are coming up: game week 16, game week 18, and game week 19. So in game week 16, why it is important, I know it's not a double or blank, but after game week 16, the second wild card comes available. So for a player like me, I still have my first wild card, so I have to use it before game week 16 or in game week 16. Otherwise, I kind of burn it and I can't use my first wild card ever again. Why game week 16 is also quite nice is that if you have used your first wild card, the second wild card becomes available. So if you have burnt your first wild card, you actually might still be able to maximize your points here. Actually, definitely in game week 17, you can hit that wild card, a free hit in game week 18, and then you should be absolutely fine for game week 19 and should be stacked with those double game week players. And with the whole free hit in game week 18, it's a great strategy because you're still maximizing the points in game week 18. If you don't have a free hit, you might be at a little bit of a hindrance here. Unfortunately, I always say save your free hit till the blank game weeks, but if you haven't, I don't think it's the end of the world. We've already spoken about the teams that have some relatively good fixtures there: Man City, Spurs, Aston Villa. You probably already have some of those players in there. If you don't have a full starting 11 in a blank game week, it's not the end of the world. I always say, as long as you have a couple, maybe 9 players, 10 players, even 8 at a push, you can still get a successful game week there and manage to avoid a red arrow. But I think definitely the strategy that I'll be using is using my wildcard in game week 16. We could also maybe look at using it in game week 15 if push comes to shove, and maybe we do have some injury considerations. Then we will be using our free hit in game week 18, and then we'll probably be using our bench boost in game week 19. Because if you watch my videos from previous seasons, you know I love a wild card plus a bench boost combo. I think that those chips together are absolute magic because you can simply maximize your double game week players and then have a full bench of double game week players, which leads to absolutely a massive amount of points. I think last season we ended on a double game week of 135 points with our bench boost, which boosted us up the ranks absolutely massively, which we definitely need this season as it's not going that greatly. But I think the whole thing with this strategy is not to overreact. If you don't have a free hit or you've already used your first wild card, there's no need to stress. It's perfectly manageable. What I would just recommend you do is you now have to focus on your free transfers. From now till game week 18 and 19, you got to use those free transfers wisely. You got to decide whether to maximize the double game week or maybe bring in a blank game week player instead of a double game week player because you think they're going to score more points in game week 18. So that's just the whole situation you go for. Unfortunately, because you've used the chip, you now have to focus on your free transfers, but I'm pretty sure you guys will be absolutely fine with that. So now we're going to be looking at teams to target. So the first selection of teams to target are going to be those blank game week teams. So Man City, Spurs, and Arsenal. So why I've highlighted these 3 teams here is they have favorable fixtures going into game week 18, but they also have favorable fixtures in the prior game week. So game week 16 and 17, because you're going to want to bring these players in at stages. You can't simply stack free transfers till game week 18 and then use 5 free transfers or whatever. So throughout the game weeks of game week 16 and 17, these teams have good fixtures. Now Arsenal right now are not looking too great, so maybe if they've had a resurgence of form, you can look at them. But definitely the Spurs and the Man City options I would look at. With Man City, I know there's that rotation there, so it might be quite hard to pick a player that's guaranteed to start. But just think about your Kevin De Bruyne's. I would maybe bring in a Man City defender. I know there might be rotation there, but maybe someone like Diaz is a safe pick. And then they have a lovely fixture in game week 19 as well. So basically, this is what I'm talking about here. Game week 18 and 19, all of these teams have favorable fixtures in both, so they should still be getting a sufficient amount of points compared to those double game week players. I mean, Man City's fixtures after that even are absolutely superb, so if you want to triple up on Man City, I would probably advise that as well. So the next talking point, we're going to be going over teams to target with the double game week. So we've already spoken about some of these teams and their favorable fixtures. Liverpool, Manchester United, I think it's that second game week that we're going to be targeting, and hopefully there's not too much rotation there. I don't think there's going to be as much rotation as a Man City, so these 2 teams should be quite safe to double up or triple up on. And then we also have some fixtures of some cheap alternatives. So Leeds, I currently own Bamford. I might bring in a defender because they are quite cheap, so that could be an alternative for you. And then also West Ham. It's not always the premium side that we have to look at. It's those budget options that are going to return a lot of points. We always speak about in the double game weeks, we have our Kevin Longs from Burnley in previous seasons where he scored a goal and got an assist in a double game week, which is absolutely magical. But you can also look at a Chelsea option maybe. We've spoken about that whole Reece James Chilwell combination. Maybe we'll be looking at that double up. There's a lot of options to go for, and it's all about trying to maximize that budget. And one of the reasons why your team value actually becomes important when you use your free hit and your bench boost, because that way you're able to maximize your bench and hopefully get the most points. But this is basically going to wrap up the video, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like it if you did, and subscribe if you're new, have not subscribed yet. Hopefully I covered everything in the double game week and blank game week ultimate guide. Just drop a comment down below if you need something to be addressed. I'll be answering all the comments as usual, so just drop your question down below and I'll be sure to get it. Also follow me on Twitter for further updates, and stay tuned for that game week 14 preview and game week 14 team selection. I'm going to be signing off. It's been Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers, bye.